I just wanna ride my bike, yeah. I'm just sick of always watching the news. I just wanna go outside, yeah. Spend a weekend way up top with a view.
Hey, what is up everybody? It's Albert here, and welcome to The Room Break, a business podcast recorded while I ride my bicycle. So, you know the drill, it's a 0.5 episode, and that means we're learning about the business theory, management, and sustainability. But we're kind of just, for this episode, we're kind of winging it. I mean, it's a lot of business theory and management stuff, not too much on the sustainability side of things, but yeah. So in the last episode of the Rim Break, we talked about the history, the origins, and some successful case studies. And we took a week off to reorganize, and now we are back and ready to go. And if you're able to, please get on your bike and listen to this podcast while you're biking. Find a long trail or route that you enjoy, and yeah, buckle down and listen to this awesome podcast. It's really jam-packed with a lot of information. So just to give a recap, this is Ashoka. Ashoka is a non-profit organization founded in 1980, and they invest in the citizen sector, focusing on supporting social entrepreneurs. Ashoka is trying to have the largest impact as they can. Ashoka applies well understood business practices to pursuits. They follow a venture capital format where if you have an idea, you pitch them the idea and how you can help others and how many people you can help. And then if you are selected, you get funding for living expenses, and you're open to a network of over 3,500 fellows and social entrepreneurs. They first identify and support the world's leading entrepreneurs. I like to think of it as the pitch of a startup. So they find people who are doing good and solving social problems for their communities. And if they can be expanded to help others, other communities, and even more people, so the scalability of this idea, then Ashoka will invite that social entrepreneur to the Ashoka Fellowship. The Ashoka Fellowship provides some money for living expenses, and the entrepreneur can fully devote one's time towards the idea. They have access to the Fellows Network for life, where they can get insight and learn from the 3,500 plus fellows. So it's a really great way to help scale your ideas, or if you have any troubles, you can just ask anybody. So yeah, really, really great model right there. Then they accelerate the model with the everyone is a changemaker world to shape the mindset on how one can make a positive change in their society. They partner with schools, universities, citizen sector organizations, media, and other influencers. I view this as the help and the connections that the VC fund has to offer the startup. And finally, they equip everyone to be a change maker, providing tools and confidence to solve their problems for the good of all people. And they focus on preparing the next generation by teaching critical skills that are needed to be successful in the future. And finally, I view this as like a startup finally getting their IPO, and they're stable and they're well established, and they're able to help other people now that they've helped themselves. Ashoka is very organized, and I definitely think this is important for their success and their longevity as an organization. And some cool things that I found was Ashoka has 4 different focus areas. The first one is social entrepreneurship. We covered that already. Number 2, every child practicing empathy. They describe empathy as the ability to understand and respond to the feelings of others. They want it to be as fundamental as reading and math. Then they try to make this an effort to teach kids at a young age, so kids will look out for each other and have good intentions in the future, whether that's towards other people or society. Youth years, that's the third thing. Rapid growth of today, people need to stay sharp early to find success in the future when they grow up. So 55% of Ashoka Fellows work directly with young people, and 53% of young people in charge of leading initiatives and projects within their organizations. So focusing on the young kids is very important for an organization's success. And some two major insights are the importance of empathy and complex problems in motivating and driving change. Teaching empathy at a young age motivates kids to help others, to support leadership by young people, because almost half of Ashoka Fellows started out their change-making journeys before the age of 21. And having a strong network of people where you can gain different insights, having a community to go to, an organization who works with you, religious organizations, etc. When all of these things come together, you guys can achieve more together, which is really great. And number 4, teams of teams, dynamic teams. When individuals and organizations cross all boundaries and align towards a shared goal, they can form teams of teams, unlocking massive amounts of social and often business value. So every team member is a leader and an initiator. This reminds me of how it's like a Japanese way of thinking, where everything is for the greater good of the team. Yeah, Ashoka is really impressing me with how they do things on the business theory side of things. They're very focused and with what they intend to do. The business model they follow is great because they really help others who help other people. And they have this idea, the mentality trickles down to the youngest person in need. So I just think it's really great for the sustainability and longevity of the organization and ideas. It's very important. It's a very important way how they run, because if everything was dependent on a CEO or upper level managers, if something were to go wrong with them, then the organization could possibly collapse. But with this model that Ashoka has established, everyone practices empathy, follows a very horizontal style of management where they encourage everybody to be a leader, and everyone is important to the longevity of Ashoka. They can run independently because the systems in place are so solid. If Ashoka were a for-profit, I do believe they would be kind of the upper echelon of the VCs. I think they'd be incredibly profitable. They just have very good intentions. They're very organized, and that's what you really want to see with a high-performing organization. And let's jump to Ashoka's mission statement. Ashoka identifies and supports the world's leading social entrepreneurs, learns from the patterns in their innovations, and mobilizes a global community that embraces these new frameworks to build everyone a changemaker world. So everybody plays a part, you know. Let's learn about Bill Drayton, the founder. We touched on a little bit about Bill Drayton on the last episode. So from the book, How to Change the World by Borenstein. So they give the perception that he's a very shy guy, a very soft-spoken man, very incredibly driven to solve all of these social issues. He's a very caring man, very empathetic, cares a lot about people that he works with. Drayton did have some very inspiring parents, which I think kind of gave him the mentality that you can kind of do whatever you want, or you can you can achieve what you want if you set your mind to it. His father was an explorer, and his mother, I believe, was a high performer in music. And these unorthodox fields, they kind of plant in your head when you're young. Like, it just plants in your head, oh, you can kind of do whatever you want. You don't have to be working that 9-to-5 job. I mean, he was an explorer. She played music, and they were doing fine, you know. So, and just having that mentality of just kind of doing what you like, I thought that was really inspiring to Bill Drayton. So yeah, and that's what Bill Drayton did. He started Ashoka, and he does what he loves. Drayton did had to craft his skills for many years before he actually started Ashoka. There are a lot of early points where he tested the idea of Ashoka and actually making a difference, and or just questioning how things actually worked. From his time at Harvard, he started the Ashoka Table, which brought prominent government, union, and church leaders for off-the-record dinners at which students could ask how things really worked. And also his 10 years as a management consultant at McKinsey & Company, and I think that's where a lot of his great management skills came from. So it definitely takes time to create a very impactful organization. Yeah, all of these things paved the way for Ashoka's success, and the idea was in his head for many years before he actually pursued it, and before he actually saw that it became and actually impacted. And yeah, it's like a living, breathing project now, which is really impressive. Ashoka's in great hands, and I'm super curious who will take the CEO positions in the future. Definitely going to take a top-notch leader to run an organization like that. Some other topics that I want to touch on before we go are some questions that they ask in the interview process of becoming a fellow. I mean, we won't go too in depth, but so question 1, who are your enemies? Question 2, who are your allies? I believe that they ask these questions to see some of the hurdles that the fellows have to overcome. And once they identify these hurdles, they can work closely with them and eventually find a middle ground so they can both benefit from their services. Let's say your organization tries to help group X, but the police don't want you working with them. And if you can find a connection to help or with the police so you can help group X rather than group X or the police stopping you from helping group X all the time, then yeah, you guys can work together and just do good things rather than work against each other. I mean, that wasn't really the best analogy, but I think you guys get the idea, right? Yeah, just work more closely with them, and yeah, there we go. And question 3, what do you expect in 10 years' time? This is a great question to see how strong the vision and that the social entrepreneur has, just the vision and how motivated they are for this thing that they have in their head. Yeah, and I'm sure there are more questions, but these ones stood out to me, and I wanted to touch slightly on the process. The process is very selective, and questions are very difficult to answer, but if you have an idea with the right focus, you have a large enough impact, in the social sector, helping other people, then I think